Victoria Hayes smoothed down the emerald green dress she had borrowed from her best friend Rachel and wondered for the 10th time why she had agreed to attend this charity gala. The grand Sterling Hotel ballroom glittered with chandeliers that probably cost more than her entire bakery equipment combined. Women in designer gowns floated past her like graceful swans, while men in expensive tuxedos discussed business deals worth millions. Victoria felt like a fish gasping for air on dry land. She owned Sweet Dreams Bakery on the corner of 5th and Maple, a small establishment that barely kept her bills paid, but filled her heart with purpose. Rachel worked as an event coordinator and had begged Victoria to accompany her tonight, insisting it would be good for her to meet new people. But Rachel had disappeared into the crowd 20 minutes ago, leaving Victoria stranded near a towering ice sculpture of a swan. The champagne in her glass had gone warm, and Victoria decided escape was her best option. She set the glass on a passing waiter's tray and turned toward the exit, weaving through clusters of chatting guests. The cool night air beckoned from beyond the glass doors, promising freedom from this uncomfortable world of wealth and pretension. That was when she felt a hand gently touch her elbow. Victoria turned to find a tall man with dark hair and striking blue eyes looking at her with an expression that mixed desperation and apology. He wore a perfectly fitted black tuxedo, and something about his presence commanded attention without demanding it. "Please forgive me for approaching you like this," he said quietly, his voice deep and urgent. "I need your help. Can you pretend we know each other, just for a few minutes? Your safety and mine might depend on it." Victoria's heart hammered in her chest. Her safety? What kind of situation had she stumbled into? She glanced past his shoulder and saw 2 women in glittering gowns watching them intently. One of them was whispering behind her hand to the other, their eyes predatory and calculating. "I know this sounds absolutely insane," the man continued, positioning himself so his back was to the watching women. "Those ladies have been cornering me all evening, trying to introduce me to their daughters, their nieces, anyone they think suitable. One of them actually followed me into the hallway earlier. I just need a moment of peace, and if they think I am with someone, they might leave me alone." There was genuine exhaustion in his eyes, not danger as Victoria had first feared. She recognized the look of someone overwhelmed by unwanted attention. Her natural kindness overrode her confusion, and she found herself nodding. "Right," Victoria agreed softly. "What do you need me to do?" Relief flooded his features, transforming his face from tense to grateful. "Just walk with me to that alcove by the windows. Talk to me like we are old friends catching up. That is all, I promise." He offered his arm, and Victoria took it, feeling the solid warmth of him through the expensive fabric of his jacket. They moved through the crowd together. She noticed how people stepped aside for him, how eyes followed their progress across the ballroom. Whoever this man was, he clearly held significant status in this glittering world. When they reached the alcove, he released her arm immediately, careful not to impose on her personal space more than necessary. Tall windows overlooked the city skyline, lights twinkling like earthbound stars. The alcove offered relative privacy from the main crowd. "Thank you," he said, exhaling deeply. "I am Nathan Pierce. I apologize for the dramatic approach. Those women have been relentless tonight, and I was reaching my breaking point." "Victoria Hayes," she replied, studying him with curiosity. "Do people always chase you at parties like this?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair, messing up the perfect styling slightly. "Only at events where everyone thinks they know what is best for my life. I have been a widower for 4 years, and apparently that makes me prime target for every matchmaker in the city. They do not seem to understand that I am not looking for someone just because I am single." Victoria's expression softened with genuine sympathy. "I am sorry about your wife. That must have been incredibly difficult. Thank you." Nathan looked at her more carefully now, seeming to truly see her for the first time since their encounter began. "You do not look like you want to be here, either. Were you also trying to escape?" Victoria laughed, a genuine sound that made Nathan smile. "Is it that obvious? My friend Rachel coordinates events and insisted I come tonight. She promised it would be fun, then abandoned me by an ice sculpture. I was heading for the exit when you found me. So we are both refugees from the same party," Nathan observed, a smile reaching his eyes and making him look younger, less burdened. What do you do when you are not attending charity galas you would rather avoid? I own a bakery downtown, Victoria answered, her face lighting up, as it always did when she talked about her work. Sweet Dreams Bakery on 5th and Maple. I started it 3 years ago, after my grandmother passed away and left me her recipes. It is small, nothing fancy, but it is mine, and I love it. There is something magical about creating things that bring joy to people. Nathan leaned against the window frame, genuinely interested. That sounds wonderful. What kind of things do you create? Victoria's enthusiasm grew as she spoke. All kinds of things. Last week I made a birthday cake shaped like a pirate ship, complete with edible sails and chocolate cannons. The little boy who ordered it could not stop grinning when he saw it. Those moments when you see pure happiness on someone's face because of something you created, that makes everything worthwhile. The early mornings, the flour in my hair, the burns from hot ovens, all of it. You must be very talented, Nathan said, captivated by her passion. My daughter Lily loves anything creative. She would be fascinated by edible pirate ships. She is always asking me to help her make elaborate desserts, but I am hopeless in the kitchen. How old is your daughter? Victoria asked, noticing how his entire demeanor softened when he mentioned her. She is staying with my mother tonight so I could attend this event. Lily is the best thing in my life, Nathan's voice filled with warmth and love. After her mother passed away when she was 5, we had to figure out how to be a family of just the two of us. Some days are harder than others, but she is stronger than I ever could be. She has this incredible resilience and joy that keeps me going. Victoria felt her heart squeeze with compassion. That must be incredibly difficult for both of you. But it sounds like you are doing an amazing job as her father. They continued talking, the minutes slipping away unnoticed. Victoria learned that Nathan ran an investment firm he had built from nothing, that he loved classic literature and jazz music, that he missed the simple pleasure of cooking homemade meals because his schedule rarely allowed time. Nathan discovered that Victoria had learned to bake from her grandmother starting when she was 6 years old, that she dreamed of expanding her bakery someday, that she believed genuine kindness was more valuable than any amount of money. The conversation flowed naturally, neither of them noticing when the excuse for their encounter had long passed. When a waiter announced that dinner would be served shortly, Nathan seemed reluctant to end their talk. Victoria, I know this is going to sound strange given how we met tonight, Nathan said carefully, but would it be all right if I stopped by your bakery sometime? I would genuinely love to try your creations, and I think Lily would be thrilled to meet you. Victoria raised her eyebrows skeptically. You really want to visit a small bakery on 5th and Maple? It is nothing like this world of crystal chandeliers and champagne. That is exactly why I want to visit, Nathan replied sincerely. This world you see around us, it is exhausting. Everything is about appearances, expectations, maintaining images. Sometimes I forget what it is like to experience something genuine and simple. May I have your number? Just in case I get lost finding the place. Victoria hesitated only briefly before pulling out her phone and sharing her contact information. As they exchanged numbers, Nathan's hand briefly touched hers, a connection that felt warm and full of promise. His skin was warm, his touch gentle. Victoria felt an unexpected flutter in her chest. They said goodbye as the crowd began moving toward the dining hall. Victoria watched Nathan disappear into the sea of elegant guests before making her way to the exit. She decided to skip dinner and head home, her mind spinning with the unexpected encounter. Walking to her car through the cool night air, Victoria could not stop replaying their conversation. She had gone to the gala dreading every moment, and somehow she had met someone who made her feel truly seen and valued. It seemed impossible that Nathan Pierce, clearly a man of significant wealth and status, would actually show up at her modest bakery. But something in his eyes had been utterly sincere. The way he had spoken about his daughter, the exhaustion she had seen when he talked about the pressures of his world, the genuine interest he had shown in her simple life. It all felt real. Victoria drove home through quiet streets, her heart lighter than it had been in months. Sometimes the most unexpected encounters became the most meaningful ones. She did not know it yet, but her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. All because a desperate man had asked her to pretend for just a few minutes and she had been kind enough to say yes. Victoria arrived at Sweet Dreams Bakery at 5:30 the next morning, just as she did every day. The pre-dawn darkness still cloaked the city streets, but inside her small shop, warmth and light welcomed her like an old friend. She tied her favorite apron around her waist, the one with tiny cupcakes printed on the fabric that her grandmother had given her years ago, and began preparing the day's first batch of cinnamon rolls. As her hands worked the dough with practiced ease, kneading and folding in a rhythm she could perform in her sleep, Victoria's mind drifted back to the previous evening. Nathan Pierce's face kept appearing in her thoughts, those blue eyes that had looked at her with such genuine interest. She told herself not to get her hopes up. Men like him did not really show up at small bakeries. He probably had assistants who handled everything for him, and by now he had likely forgotten all about the baker he had met while escaping matchmakers. The morning passed in its usual comfortable routine. Regular customers came and went, greeting Victoria by name and ordering their favorite treats. Mrs. Henderson bought her daily blueberry muffin and shared stories about her grandchildren. Tom from the bookstore next door picked up his usual black coffee and chocolate croissant before opening his shop. These simple interactions filled Victoria's heart with contentment. Around 10 o'clock, the bell above the door chimed with its cheerful jingle. Victoria looked up from the lemon tarts she was arranging in the display case and felt her breath catch. Nathan Pierce stood in the doorway, looking slightly uncertain, but undeniably present. He wore a charcoal gray business suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, but his tie was slightly loosened and his expression was warm. "You came," Victoria said, unable to hide the surprise and pleasure in her voice. "I told you I would," Nathan replied, approaching the counter with a smile that made his whole face light up. "I hope this is not a bad time. I have a meeting across town at noon, but I could not stop thinking about your bakery. Everything smells absolutely incredible." Victoria wiped her flour-dusted hands on her apron, suddenly self-conscious about her appearance. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She knew she had powdered sugar on her cheek from the donuts she had been filling earlier. But Nathan looked at her like she was exactly where she belonged, like the flour and sugar were badges of honor rather than signs of messy work. "What do you recommend?" Nathan asked, studying the display case with genuine interest. "The cinnamon rolls just came out of the oven about 20 minutes ago," Victoria suggested, moving to the pastry counter. "And the lemon lavender cupcakes are my grandmother's recipe. I tweaked it slightly by adding a hint of honey to the frosting. They are my personal favorite." "Then I will take both," Nathan decided. "And whatever coffee you think pairs best with them?" Victoria prepared his order, sneaking glances at him as she worked. He had settled into one of the 4 small tables by the window, the morning sunlight catching in his dark hair. He looked completely out of place among the mismatched vintage chairs and the cheerful yellow walls. Decorated with framed photos of cakes Victoria had created over the years, yet somehow he also looked more relaxed than he had at the gala. She brought his order to the table. Nathan's eyes widened when he tasted the cinnamon roll. "This is extraordinary," he said, after swallowing his first bite. "I cannot remember the last time I had something homemade that tasted this good. Everything I eat is usually catered or from expensive restaurants, where the portions are tiny and the food tastes like it was made to look good rather than to actually enjoy." Victoria sat down across from him, cradling her own cup of coffee. "That is the problem with fancy food. People forget that eating should be about joy and comfort, not just presentation." They talked until Nathan had to leave for his meeting, and Victoria found herself disappointed when he glanced at his watch and reluctantly stood to go. But he promised to return, and something in his voice told her he meant it. True to his word, Nathan became a regular presence at Sweet Dreams Bakery over the following 2 weeks. He would stop by in the mornings before heading to his office or during lunch breaks when his schedule allowed. Sometimes he would sit and talk with Victoria for an hour, and other times he would just grab a coffee and a pastry to go. But he always made her feel like his visit was the highlight of his day. Victoria learned more about him with each encounter. She discovered that he was methodical about his coffee, always ordering it the same way, with just a splash of cream and no sugar. He had a terrible sweet tooth that he tried to hide behind claims of buying treats for his office staff. But Victoria saw through that excuse when he would savor each bite with obvious pleasure. He listened far more than he spoke, asking thoughtful questions and remembering small details she mentioned in passing. Nathan learned that Victoria hummed while she worked, usually old songs her grandmother had taught her. She remembered every regular customer's name and their favorite orders, greeting each person like they were the most important visitor of the day. Her laughter was contagious and genuine, bubbling up frequently and making everyone around her smile. She had a habit of tucking loose strands of hair behind her ear when she was concentrating, and she always tasted her creations with a small frown of concentration before deciding if they were perfect enough to serve. One Saturday morning, 3 weeks after their first meeting, Nathan arrived at the bakery with a small figure beside him. Victoria looked up from the cake she was decorating to see a young girl with dark hair and 2 neat braids and bright blue eyes that matched her father's exactly. The girl clutched a worn stuffed rabbit under one arm and looked around the bakery with wide-eyed wonder. "Victoria, this is my daughter Lily," Nathan said, resting his hand gently on the girl's shoulder. "Lily, this is Miss Victoria. She is the wonderful baker I have been telling you about." Lily stepped forward, examining Victoria with the serious intensity that only children possess. "Daddy says you make magic with frosting. Is that true?" Victoria crouched down to Lily's level, her heart melting at the earnest question. "Well, I do not know if it is actual magic, but I do try my very best to make beautiful things." "Do you like to bake, Lily?" The girl's face brightened immediately. "I love baking. I help Daddy make pancakes on Sunday mornings, but they always turn out lumpy and weird-shaped. Daddy says they taste good even if they look funny." "That is because your father does not let the batter rest properly before cooking," Victoria said in a stage whisper, making Lily giggle. The sound was pure and delightful, and Victoria saw Nathan's expression soften as he watched his daughter laugh. "Would you like to help me decorate some cupcakes? I am working on a special order for a birthday party this afternoon, and I could really use an assistant." Lily's entire face lit up brighter than all the lights in the bakery combined. "Really? Can I, Daddy?" "Please." Nathan smiled, a genuine expression of joy that transformed his usually serious features. "If Miss Victoria does not mind having a helper for the morning, then I think that sounds perfect." "I would love the company," Victoria assured them, standing and extending her hand to Lily. "Come on, let's get you an apron. I have a special one in the back that might be just your size." That morning became something precious and transformative. Victoria set Lily up at the decorating station with her own set of tools and a dozen plain cupcakes to practice on. She showed the girl how to hold the piping bag, how to apply steady pressure to create even lines of frosting, how to make simple flowers and stars and swirls. Lily proved to be a natural student, her small hands surprisingly steady and her concentration absolute. Her tongue poked out slightly between her lips when she focused on creating the perfect rosette, and she would hold up each finished cupcake for Victoria's approval before carefully setting it aside. Nathan watched from a nearby table, his laptop open but forgotten. He could not take his eyes off his daughter, seeing her so happy and engaged. Every time Lily successfully created a new design, she would turn to show her father, and his proud smile made Victoria's chest feel warm and full. "Look, Daddy, I made a butterfly." Lily held up a cupcake decorated with purple and pink frosting wings, wobbly but recognizable. "That is absolutely beautiful, sweetheart," Nathan said, getting up to examine her creation more closely. "You are becoming a real artist." "Miss Victoria is an excellent teacher. She is the best teacher ever," Lily declared with the absolute certainty of childhood. She beamed up at Victoria with pure adoration, and Victoria felt something shift deep inside her chest. This was not just attraction to Nathan anymore. Though she could not deny that her feelings for him had grown stronger with each visit, this was something deeper and more complex. She was falling for both of them. For the quiet, thoughtful man who looked at his daughter like she had hung every star in the sky. For the sweet, creative girl who had lost her mother far too young and was now opening her heart to a virtual stranger. As the morning sun streamed through the bakery windows, turning everything golden and warm, Victoria worked alongside Lily while Nathan watched them both. They created a tableau of domestic peace that felt both fragile and powerful. Victoria caught Nathan's eye over Lily's head at one point, and the look he gave her held gratitude, admiration, and something else she was afraid to name. When lunchtime approached and the birthday cake order was complete, Lily's decorated cupcakes arranged proudly on a separate tray, the spell of the morning began to break. Victoria packed up several of Lily's best creations in a special box for her to take home. "Can I come back next week?" Lily asked, hugging Victoria tightly around the waist. The embrace was sudden and fierce, and Victoria had to blink back unexpected tears. "Any time you want," Victoria promised, meeting Nathan's eyes over his daughter's head. "I always love having helpers, especially ones as talented as you." After Lily ran ahead to the car, clutching her box of cupcakes like treasure, Nathan lingered in the doorway. The afternoon sun backlit him, making it hard to see his expression clearly. But his voice was thick with emotion when he spoke. "Thank you for today. Lily has not been this happy in a very long time. Neither have I, if I am being honest." He paused, seeming to gather courage. "Victoria, I would like to take you to dinner. A real date, if you are interested. I know my world is complicated, and I come with a ready-made family, but I would really like to get to know you better outside of this bakery." Victoria's smile was her answer before she even spoke. "I would like that very much, Nathan. I would like that a lot." They set a date for the following Friday evening. After Nathan left, Victoria returned to her work with a lightness in her step that had been absent for years. She hummed as she cleaned the decorating station, as she prepared dough for tomorrow's bread. As she locked up the bakery that evening, walking home through the twilight streets, Victoria allowed herself to hope. Hope that this connection was real, that Nathan's feelings matched her own, that somehow she could become part of the small family that had walked into her life 3 weeks ago. She thought about Lily's laugh, Nathan's smile, the way they had looked like they belonged in her sunny yellow bakery. Despite coming from a world of mansions and expensive suits, sometimes love arrived when you least expected it. Dressed in a designer tuxedo and asking for help at a charity gala, sometimes it grew slowly over cinnamon rolls and coffee, over shared stories and genuine laughter. Sometimes it included a 9-year-old girl with braids and a stuffed rabbit, teaching you that family was not always about blood, but about choosing to open your heart. Victoria did not know what the future held, but for the first time in years, she was excited to find out. Her simple life had suddenly become filled with possibility. It all started because she had been kind enough to help a desperate stranger. Now that stranger was becoming something much more important. And Victoria was ready to see where this journey would lead them all. Friday evening arrived, wrapped in golden autumn light. Victoria stood in front of her bathroom mirror, changing her outfit for the 3rd time in 20 minutes. She had settled on a simple navy blue dress that Rachel had helped her pick out during an emergency shopping trip the day before. It was elegant without being too formal, flattering without trying too hard. She paired it with her grandmother's pearl earrings, the ones she only wore on special occasions. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Nathan saying he was downstairs. Victoria grabbed her small purse, took one last steadying breath, and headed down to meet him. When she stepped outside her apartment building, she found Nathan leaning against a sleek black car, holding a bouquet of white roses mixed with sprigs of lavender. "You look beautiful," Nathan said softly, offering her the flowers. "The florist told me white roses symbolize new beginnings. And I remembered you mentioned loving the scent of lavender when you talked about your cupcakes." Victoria accepted the bouquet, touched by his thoughtfulness. "They are perfect. Thank you." Nathan had chosen a small Italian restaurant tucked away on a quiet side street, far from the trendy establishments where he might run into business associates or society friends. The restaurant was called Luna's, and it had checkered tablecloths, candles, and wine bottles, and the warm aroma of garlic and fresh bread filling the air. "I hope this is all right," Nathan said as they were seated in a corner booth. "I wanted somewhere we could actually talk without interruptions. My assistant recommended this place. She said it has the best homemade pasta in the city, and nobody will bother us here." "It is perfect," Victoria assured him, genuinely delighted by his choice. "I was worried you might take me somewhere with tiny portions on huge plates where I would have to pretend to know which fork to use for what course." Nathan laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "I hate those places. All style and no substance. Give me real food and good company any day. They ordered wine and appetizers, and the conversation flowed as naturally as it had in the bakery. But there was something different tonight. A new layer of intimacy now that they were openly acknowledging. This as a date rather than chance encounters over coffee and pastries, Victoria learned that Nathan had built his investment firm from almost nothing. He had grown up in a middle-class family, worked 3 jobs to put himself through business school, and spent years sacrificing everything to build his company. Success had come gradually, then suddenly, and by the time he was 30, he was managing portfolios worth millions. That is when I met Christine. My late wife, Nathan said, his voice gentle with memory rather than pain. She was an artist, completely different from anyone in my business world. She saw life in colors and emotions, while I saw it in numbers and strategies. We balanced each other perfectly. Victoria reached across the table and touched his hand. Tell me about her, if you want to. Nathan's fingers intertwined with hers, and he spoke about Christine with love and acceptance. She had been vibrant and passionate, filling their home with paintings and music and laughter. When Lily was born, Christine had been an amazing mother, creative and nurturing. Then came the cancer diagnosis when Lily was 4 years old. Christine had fought for 18 months before passing away peacefully at home with Nathan and Lily beside her. The hardest part was watching Lily lose her mother so young, Nathan said, his voice thick with old grief. She was too little to fully understand what was happening. For months after Christine died, Lily would ask when Mommy was coming home. Breaking her heart over and over again with the truth nearly destroyed me. But you got through it together, Victoria said softly. And Lily is such a wonderful, happy child. You did that, Nathan. You gave her stability and love when her world fell apart. I tried my best, but there were so many moments when I felt completely lost. Nathan looked at Victoria with an intensity that made her breath catch. Meeting you has been the first time since Christine died that I have felt like maybe I could open my heart again. You make me remember what it feels like to laugh genuinely, to look forward to something simple like morning coffee. And the way you were with Lily last weekend, watching you teach her with such patience and kindness. It made me realize how much we have both been missing that gentle, nurturing presence in our lives. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. I care about both of you so much already. It terrifies me how quickly my feelings have grown, but I cannot help it. Lily is an amazing little girl, and you are an incredible father. Being with you both feels right in a way I cannot fully explain. They talked through dinner, the pasta forgotten on their plates as they shared stories from their pasts. Victoria told Nathan about losing her grandmother, the woman who had raised her after her parents died in a car accident when she was 12. She spoke about the loneliness of her 20s. Watching friends get married and start families while she poured everything into building her bakery. She admitted her fear that she was too ordinary for someone like him, that his world would never truly accept a simple baker with flour perpetually under her fingernails. You are not ordinary, Nathan said firmly. You are extraordinary in all the ways that actually matter. You create joy for people every single day. You remembered that elderly woman's birthday last week and gave her a free cupcake because you knew she lived alone. You spent your Saturday morning teaching my daughter to decorate cupcakes when you could have been doing 100 other things. That kind of genuine kindness is rare, Victoria. It is precious. My world of money and status, those people would not even notice someone in need standing right in front of them. After dinner, Nathan suggested a walk through the nearby park. The autumn evening was cool, but comfortable. They strolled along tree-lined paths with leaves crunching beneath their feet. Nathan held her hand. Victoria felt a contentment she had never experienced before. They sat on a bench overlooking a small pond, where ducks glided across the dark water. Nathan turned to face Victoria, his expression serious and tender. I need you to understand something. I am not looking for someone to just fill a void in my life. I am not trying to replace Christine or find a mother figure for Lily just because that role is empty. I am falling for you because of who you are, Victoria. Because you make me laugh. Because you challenge me to remember what really matters. Because being around you feels like coming home after a long journey. Victoria's heart pounded in her chest. I am falling for you too, Nathan. Both of you. I know it is fast, and I know your life is complicated, but I cannot deny what I feel. When I am with you and Lily, everything else fades away. The worries about money, the concerns about my small business struggling, all of it becomes manageable because I have something real to hold on to. Nathan leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. But Victoria did not want to pull away. She met him halfway, and their first kiss was gentle and sweet, full of promise and possibility. When they finally separated, both were smiling. The following weeks passed in a blur of happiness. Nathan and Lily became regular fixtures in Victoria's life. They would have dinner together several times a week, sometimes at Nathan's elegant home, where Victoria slowly grew comfortable despite the mansion's intimidating size, and sometimes at her tiny apartment, where they would cook simple meals and play board games at her small kitchen table. Victoria taught Lily more baking techniques, and the girls' skills improved dramatically. They made cookies shaped like autumn leaves, pumpkin bread with cream cheese frosting, apple tarts with lattice crusts. Lily would chatter constantly while they worked, telling Victoria about school and her friends and the books she was reading. She started calling Victoria by her first name without the miss prefix, a small but significant sign of growing closeness. Nathan would watch them work together, and Victoria would catch expressions on his face that made her heart skip. Love, gratitude, hope, all mixed together. Sometimes he would join them, his large hands clumsy with the piping bags, but his determination endearing. Lily would giggle at his mistakes, and Nathan would laugh at himself. The sound free and unguarded. One Sunday afternoon, Nathan took Victoria and Lily to a children's museum. They spent hours exploring interactive exhibits, building structures with giant blocks, creating art in the studio space. Victoria held Lily's hand as they walked through the butterfly garden, dozens of colorful wings fluttering around them. Nathan captured a photo of them together. Victoria crouched down beside Lily as they examined a blue morpha butterfly resting on a leaf, both of their faces lit with wonder. That evening, after Lily had fallen asleep during the drive home, Nathan walked Victoria to her apartment door. "She asked me today if you could be her new mommy," he said quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "We were in the butterfly garden, and she just looked up at me and asked. I told her that these things take time, that we all need to be sure, but she said she was already sure. She said, 'You make her happy, and you make me happy, and that is all that matters to her.'" Victoria felt tears spill down her cheeks. "What did you tell her?" "I told her that I was falling in love with you, and that if things continued going well, maybe someday that could happen. But I wanted to make sure she understood that you would never replace her mother. Christine will always be her mom, and that is sacred. You would be something different, something new and special." "I would never try to replace Christine," Victoria said, her voice shaking. "But I already love that little girl, Nathan. She has worked her way into my heart so completely. And I love you too. I know it is soon, and I know people will say we are rushing, but I cannot deny what I feel." Nathan cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs wiping away her tears. "I love you too, Victoria. I think I started falling for you that first night at the gala when you agreed to help a desperate stranger without hesitation. Every moment since then has only made me more certain. You are patient and kind and genuine in a world full of people who are none of those things. You see me, not my money or status. You see Lily, not an inconvenience or obligation. You see us as a family worth being part of." They kissed on her doorstep, and Victoria felt like her life was finally becoming the story she had always dreamed of but never dared to believe possible. A successful man who valued her for her character rather than her appearance. A beautiful child who needed the love Victoria had been saving up for years, with no one to give it to. A chance at the family she had been quietly longing for since losing her own parents so young. Over the next month, their relationship deepened in countless small ways. Victoria kept a toothbrush at Nathan's house, and he kept spare work clothes at her apartment. They fell into comfortable routines, like Nathan texting her good morning every day before she left for the bakery, or Victoria saving him samples of whatever new recipe she was trying. Lily started having sleepovers at Victoria's apartment. the two of them staying up late watching movies and eating popcorn while painting their nails. Nathan's mother met Victoria over Sunday brunch and immediately adored her. Seeing how happy her son and granddaughter had become, Nathan's business associates were more skeptical when he started bringing Victoria to company events. But she held her head high and refused to be intimidated by their barely concealed judgment. One evening, Victoria was closing up the bakery when Nathan arrived unexpectedly. He looked nervous, his hands shoved deep in his coat pockets, and his expression uncertain. Victoria's heart raced as she locked the door behind him. Is everything all right? Is Lily okay? Lily is perfect. She is with my mother tonight. Nathan took a deep breath. Victoria, these past few months with you have been the happiest I have been in years. You have brought light and love back into my life and into Lily's life. You have shown me that it is possible to open your heart again after loss. That love can be different the second time, but still beautiful and real. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, and Victoria gasped. Nathan dropped to one knee right there in the middle of her bakery, surrounded by the scent of cinnamon and vanilla. Beneath the cheerful yellow walls covered with photos of cakes. Victoria Hayes, will you marry me? Will you become my wife and Lily's mother? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making you as happy as you have made us? Victoria's hands covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Through her tears, she saw not just Nathan kneeling before her, but her entire future spreading out in front of her. A future filled with love and laughter, with Sunday morning pancakes and bedtime stories, with a partner who valued her kindness, and a daughter who needed her nurturing. A future where the lonely baker who had been surviving finally got the chance to truly live. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Nathan stood and slipped the ring onto her finger, a beautiful sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. Then he pulled her into his arms and kissed her deeply, spinning her around in a circle. When he finally set her down, they were both laughing and crying at the same time. Lily helped me pick out the ring, Nathan admitted. Said the blue reminded her of the frosting on the cupcakes you made together that first day. She is so excited about this, Victoria. She made me promise to call her the moment you said yes. Victoria laughed through her tears. Then we better call her right now. I do not want to keep our daughter waiting. Our daughter. The words felt right and true, settling into Victoria's heart like they had always belonged there. Her life had changed completely since that night at the charity gala, when a desperate stranger had asked for her help. She had been kind to Nathan in his moment of need, never imagining that one small act of compassion would lead to everything she'd ever wanted. As Nathan pulled out his phone to video call Lily, Victoria looked around her bakery with new eyes. This place had been her whole world for so long, her purpose and identity. But now it was just one beautiful part of a much bigger, fuller life. She was not just Victoria the baker anymore. She was Victoria the fiancée, soon to be Victoria the wife and mother. And somehow, impossibly, wonderfully, all of those identities fit together perfectly.